Imagine inventing a technology so revolutionary that it would eventually organize nearly all the world's information, a technology used by billions of people every single day. Now imagine trying to sell that invention for just $750,000. It sounds impossible. But that's exactly what happened. Long before Google became one of the most valuable companies in history, it was nothing more than a research project created by two graduate students at Stanford University. They weren't trying to build a trillion-dollar company. In fact, they wanted to sell their technology and move on with their academic careers. One of the biggest companies on the internet had the chance to buy Google for less than $1 million. Instead, they walked away. That decision would eventually become one of the biggest business mistakes in history. Today, Google processes billions of searches every day and has expanded into smartphones, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, maps, advertising, and countless other services. But none of that was guaranteed. To understand how Google almost ended up belonging to someone else, we need to go back to the early days of the internet. During the mid-1990s, going online was a completely different experience. Most people connected using slow dial-up internet. Websites were simple, and finding information was often frustrating. Search engines existed, but they weren't very intelligent. Most simply matched keywords without understanding which pages were actually useful. As a result, users often had to browse through pages of irrelevant links before finding what they needed. At the time, Yahoo was the king of the internet. Instead of relying on algorithms, Yahoo organized websites into categories created by human editors. For a while, this worked surprisingly well. But the internet was growing at an incredible pace. Every day, thousands of new websites appeared online, making it impossible for people to organize everything manually. Other companies like Alta Vista, Lycos, Excite, and Ask Jeeves tried to improve search, but none truly solved the problem. Finding useful information online still felt slow and frustrating. Most people accepted that as normal. But two Stanford students believed there had to be a better way. And that belief would change the internet forever. In 1996, two PhD students at Stanford University were working on a research project that would change the internet forever. Their names were Larry Page and Sergey Brin. At the time, most search engines ranked websites by counting how many times a keyword appeared on a page. It was a simple system, and it was easy to manipulate. Companies quickly discovered they could trick search engines by stuffing pages with popular keywords, even if the content was poor. Page and Brin believed there had to be a smarter solution. Instead of asking, "How many times does this word appear?" they asked a completely different question. Which websites does the internet trust the most? Their idea was inspired by academic research. When scientists write papers, they cite other trusted studies. The more high-quality citations a paper receives, the more important it becomes. They realized the web worked in a similar way. Every hyperlink from one website to another could be treated as a vote of confidence. But not every vote should have the same value. A link from a respected website should carry far more weight than a link from an unknown page. That insight became the foundation of an algorithm they called PageRank. For the first time, a search engine could measure the authority of a web page instead of simply matching keywords. The results were dramatically better. Users found exactly what they were looking for in seconds, instead of wasting time scrolling through irrelevant websites. Friends at Stanford immediately noticed the difference. More and more students began using their search engine instead of Yahoo, Alta Vista, or Excite. The project quickly outgrew the university servers. Larry and Sergey suddenly faced a problem they had never expected. Their research project was becoming too successful. They needed more computers, more storage, and more funding just to keep it running. But neither of them dreamed of becoming CEOs. Their original plan was much simpler. They wanted to sell the technology to an established internet company and return to their academic careers. What they didn't know was that this decision would lead them to one of the biggest missed opportunities in business history. And one company was about to make a mistake worth hundreds of billions of dollars. As Google's popularity grew inside Stanford, Larry Page and Sergey Brin realized they had created something special. Their search engine was faster, smarter, and far more accurate than anything else available. But there was one problem. Running Google was becoming expensive. Every day, more people used the search engine. More searches meant more servers, more storage, and higher operating costs. As graduate students, they simply didn't have the money to keep up. Instead of building a company, they looked for someone willing to buy the technology. Their first asking price was $1 million. They contacted several internet companies, believing one of them would immediately recognize Google's potential. Surprisingly, almost no one showed serious interest. Eventually, they lowered the price to $750,000. Among the companies they approached was Yahoo, the undisputed king of the internet. At the time, Yahoo wasn't just a search engine. It was one of the most visited websites in the world. Millions of people started their day on Yahoo's homepage to read news, check email, browse categories, and search the web. To Larry and Sergey, Yahoo seemed like the perfect buyer. They believed their search technology could make Yahoo even better. But Yahoo's executives saw things differently. Their business depended on keeping users on the Yahoo website for as long as possible. The longer people stayed, the more advertisements they viewed and the more revenue the company generated. Google had a completely different philosophy. Its mission was simple: help users find the right answer as quickly as possible, even if that meant leaving Google's website within seconds. To Yahoo, that sounded like a terrible business model. Why would anyone build a website designed to send visitors somewhere else? Confident in their own strategy, Yahoo declined the offer. What seemed like a small decision at the time would become one of the most expensive missed opportunities in the history of technology. Instead of selling Google, Larry Page and Sergey Brin had only one option left. They would have to build the company themselves. And that decision would change the internet forever. After Yahoo rejected the offer, Larry Page and Sergey Brin faced a difficult decision. They had tried to sell their technology. No one wanted it. If they believed in Google, they would have to build the company themselves. There was just one problem. They had almost no money. The search engine was growing faster every week, and every new user meant more servers, more storage, and higher costs. Their research project was quickly becoming too expensive for two graduate students. Then something unexpected happened. One morning, they met Andy Bechtolsheim, co-founder of Sun Microsystems and one of Silicon Valley's most respected entrepreneurs. Instead of scheduling a long presentation, Larry and Sergey demonstrated Google's search engine in just a few minutes. Bechtolsheim was immediately impressed. He didn't ask for a detailed business plan. He didn't ask for market research. He simply looked at the two founders and said, "I don't need to see anything else." Right there, he wrote a check for Isang Daang Libong Doyer, made out to a company that didn't even exist yet. There was only one problem. The check was written to Google Inc., but Google Inc. had not been incorporated. Before they could deposit the money, Larry and Sergey had to officially create the company. On September 4th, 1998, Google was born. Its first office wasn't a glamorous corporate headquarters. It was a rented garage in Menlo Park, California, owned by Susan Wojcicki, who would later become the CEO of YouTube. The garage became the birthplace of one of the most influential companies in history. Inside that small space, the founders focused on one simple goal: build the best search engine on the internet. They refused to fill the homepage with advertisements, news, weather, or unnecessary distractions. Unlike Yahoo, Google's homepage contained almost nothing. Just a logo, a search bar, and a single button. Many people thought it looked unfinished, but users loved it. Google was incredibly fast, remarkably accurate, and unbelievably simple. Without spending millions on advertising, word of mouth spread rapidly. More people began switching to Google every day. And while Yahoo believed users should stay on its website, Google was teaching the world that finding the right answer mattered more than keeping people on a page. That philosophy would soon change the internet forever. As the years passed, Google's growth became impossible to ignore. More people were switching to Google every day, not because of flashy advertising, but because it simply worked better. Users could find exactly what they were looking for in seconds, and they trusted the results. Soon, Google It became part of everyday language. The company wasn't just winning users, it was changing how people interacted with the internet. Then, Google introduced a product that would transform online advertising forever. It was called AdWords. Instead of filling websites with random banner ads, Google displayed small text ads directly related to what people were searching for. If someone searched for running shoes, they saw advertisements for running shoes. It was simple, effective, and incredibly profitable. Businesses loved it because they reached customers who were already interested in their products. Users accepted it because the ads were actually useful. Within a few years, Google's advertising business generated billions of dollars. Meanwhile, Yahoo struggled to keep up. Its homepage had become crowded with news, sports, weather, finance, email, shopping, and dozens of other services. The company wanted users to spend as much time as possible inside its ecosystem. Google wanted the opposite. It wanted users to find an answer and leave within seconds. Ironically, that philosophy made people return again and again. By the mid-2000s, Google had become the world's most popular search engine. Yahoo was no longer leading the internet. It was chasing a competitor it had once had the chance to own for less than $1 million. The company that believed Google wasn't worth buying now watched as its former opportunity became one of the fastest-growing businesses in history, but Google wasn't finished. Search was only the beginning. The company was about to expand into smartphones, maps, browsers, email, video, cloud computing, and artificial intelligence, building an empire that would reshape the digital world forever, and Yahoo would never recover from the decision it made years earlier. Yahoo didn't fail because it lacked money. It didn't fail because it lacked talented employees, and it certainly didn't fail because it lacked opportunities. Yahoo failed because it underestimated a small company that was solving a problem better than anyone else. When Larry Page and Sergey Brin tried to sell Google, they weren't offering just another search engine. They were offering a completely different vision of how the internet should work. While Yahoo wanted users to stay on its website for as long as possible, Google wanted people to find the right answer as quickly as possible. That single difference changed everything. Today, Google is worth well over $1 trillion. Its products are used by billions of people every day, from search and YouTube to Android, Maps, Gmail, and artificial intelligence. Yahoo, once the king of the internet, never recovered its leadership. Its story is now taught in business schools around the world as one of the greatest missed opportunities in corporate history. The lesson is simple. The biggest threat to a successful company is rarely its competitors. It's the belief that today's success guarantees tomorrow's future. Because sometimes, the opportunity that looks too small to matter ends up changing the world. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Every week, we explore the true stories behind the world's biggest companies, the boldest decisions, and the business mistakes that changed history forever.